Hi guys, today I would like to talk about the things you need to do once you get your puppy from the breeder. And this is why many people make mistake in that they don't know what to do. Now, I would like to talk in three aspects, and that's vaccination, feeding, and training. Now, talking about vaccination, many people get their puppy from the breeder when it's around 2 months old. At this age, they have not undergone their full vaccination program. So you as a dog owner or a puppy owner, you need to continue with their vaccination program. In most cases, at that age, around 2 months, they only have had like one vaccine, which is Parvo vaccine. And talking about Parvo vaccine, is something I would like to talk so much about. Now talking about parvovirus. What is parvovirus? Parvovirus is a very infectious disease that affects young puppies from the age of 2 months all the way to 5 months and sometimes to 6 months. So what happens is that once your dog or your puppy contacts parvovirus, it affects the intestinal wall, making it to breed, and so your dog is unable to digest the food and all that, and after that it becomes very dehydrated. After the intestinal lining of the stomach is infected, it will start to breed. And so the first thing you notice that when the dog poops, the poop in most cases it will be a diarrhea, and the diarrhea will have some blood in it. That means your dog is in very bad position, and once it gets infected, the chances of your dog surviving or your puppy surviving are very, very low. So the only way you can prevent your dog from being infected is making sure that it's vaccinated against the parvovirus. So I've seen a lot of people having a lot of misconception about the parvovirus. And what happens is that many people believe, especially here in Kenya, that this disease is brought about by their dog or their puppy swallowing the teeth. And you usually find people pulling out the teeth of their puppy to make sure that it doesn't swallow and end up contacting. In fact, they don't know it's a disease that comes at around that age, around 2 months to 6 months. Anytime, if your dog is not properly vaccinated, it can contact parvo virus. So guys, especially those who come from Kenya, and I believe in many African countries for that matter, one thing you need to know is that there's no way, even if your dog swallows a tooth, there's no way that tooth can make it develop a disease. So the disease will only develop when you fail to properly vaccinate the dog. What I suggest is that once you get your puppy at 2 months, make sure that you consult your veterinary to make sure that your puppy undergoes the proper vaccination program. So from there, I would like to talk about feeding, how you're supposed to feed your puppy. Me personally, I do raw. I feed my dogs raw meat. And talking about raw, that comes with a lot of controversy. There are many people who believe that you're not supposed to feed your dog raw meat, of which personally I believe is wrong. Because remember, these are subspecies of the wolf. And when our wolves are out there hunting, no one cooks for them. They don't need their meat to be cooked, so they eat it raw. So naturally, this dog, their digestive system is designed to handle raw diet, and that's raw meat. And I believe that's the most nutritious food you can give to your dog. Although the options are not limited to raw meat, there are some people who feed dry food or kibo, as they call it. It all depends with your pocket. If you can afford to get your dog quality kibo, there are some which are cheap, and in most cases they are not very nutritious. I advise people to go for the well-known brand of dry food or the Kimbo. Something else I would like to point out is that many people are always asking how many times you are supposed to feed your dog, especially your puppy. Now, in this case, we'll be talking about the puppy. Now, since this dog, you just got him from the breeder, at around 2 months. I'm not saying my dog here is 2 months old. This is almost 4 months old. So around 2 months, that's the time that the dog has just been weaned. That means it will no longer be depending with its mother's milk. So as a dog owner or as a puppy owner, you need to make sure that you're feeding that dog or that puppy nutritious food to compensate for lack of mother's milk. So as I said, me, I do raw meat. I've been doing it for quite some time. I've never had any problem with the raw diet, and that's the raw meat. So long as the meat is fresh, and I repeat, so long as the meat is fresh. Okay, other people prefer dry food. It is okay. So long as you are feeding quality kibo or quality dry food from well-known brands. And the feeding interval is something I would like to talk about. Now that considering that this dog or this puppy is growing rapidly during this time, around 2 months to 6 months, this dog is growing rapidly. So you need to keep up with that growth, and the only way to keep up with that growth is to make sure that you are feeding the dog properly and at proper interval. So for a puppy, I always advise that you do 3 small meals during the day. But when the dog matures up around 6 months, 7 months, you can do 1 meal a day. So the other thing I would like to talk about, which is very important, is training. When you get your puppy, it's your responsibility to make sure that this dog is properly trained. And that will make your life with your dog very easy. And the first thing you teach is this piece of equipment here called the leash. The dog needs to understand how to walk properly on the leash. And then from there, I need to have proper obedience training. And talking about obedience, I'll show you what I mean by obedience training. And then from there, the dog needs to be well socialized with the environment. And I will try to demonstrate some of those behavior or some of those things with my puppy here. So the first thing you teach your new puppy is how to walk properly on a leash, because you'll be doing a lot of interaction with the dog through the leash. So this is the first time this dog is being held on a leash, and it's not very comfortable. So that's the first thing I'll need to teach the dog, to be comfortable on the leash. You see, I need to drag the dog to make it walk, and this is not what I want. So just to make it more comfortable, I'm going to reward at the same time making the dog feel the leash. So I don't need to drag the dog next time. So it's all making it a positive experience, making sure that once he start being hesitant, I'll give him a leash, a treat rather. So good. At the same time, making sure that you can feel the leash, and again, I make it more positive. Yeah, you see. So this is expected, and after a few repetitions, you're going to have a dog that can walk properly on a leash. And when it comes to leash walking, you want a dog that not pulling on the leash and not running behind. So that's what will be our main objection. From there, your dog need to understand basic command like sit. So how do you teach this sit? By luring. Doesn't know. Yeah, I'll have him, his bottom touching the ground, I'll reward. And then I'll do again. Doesn't know, but once the good. So that's the first stage of teaching a sit. Come by luring. This is what we call luring. Once the bottom hits the ground, I reward. Again, we're going to repeat that. Sit. Still doesn't know what you're doing. So guys, this is how you teach the sit command. Good. The dog doesn't know, but eventually you're going to get a hang of it. Yes. Good. Again, this is what we call luring. Good. Yes. Good. Good. And then from there, We can teach the down. So what you do with the down is that this is the luring for down. Yes. When the dog gets down, I reward. And I continue rewarding to make sure that these are high reward position. You associate this position with lots of rewards. So again, we do the luring for sit. So oh yeah, good. Once the bottom hits the ground, I reward. Yes. So eventually the dog will understand. Yes. And remember, I've not attached any command at this point. So it's all about luring. And then is the luring for down. And again, I make it a very high reward position. You start to associate rewards with this position. And eventually, you're going to get a hang of it. And that's how you start the basic obedience. That's sit, down, and leash walking. And then from there, there's something very important which we call socialization. So this is about making the dog be comfortable with the environment, with the stimulus in the environment, and that's what we'll be doing next. Socialization is making sure that your dog is well comfortable with the environment, and as you can see, it's a bit stressed by moving vehicle. So this is something that I need to keep training the dog. So telling from the body language, you can see that he has his ears facing backwards. He has lowered his ears. That means that the dog is scared. So this is something I need to practice, and still very early. So this is still part of socialization, considering that we are living in a countryside. So the dog will need to be very conversant with sheep and all these kind of animals. So this part of our socialization, the dog is not very comfortable, but eventually you learn to ignore all these animals, and that's what I want. So this part of socialization, the dog is not really comfortable, but eventually you learn to ignore these animals because that's what I want.